that's when my humor part came in. Cause I laugh, I made people laugh at some situations that weren't supposed to be laughed at,
Right.
you know. So when they ask me, say, man, what's the shit? Even playing that the national anthem, right? When you go to the games and
Mm-hmm.
everything, we sat down, and I said, hell, Marvin Gaye is my name, and Bobby Womack, The Facts of Life. You listen to them two damn albums, huh? Listen to Marvin Gaye, What's Going On, and Bobby Womack, Facts of Life, and give you the pulse of the street.
Mm.
And so, even with the hip hop, and I ain't have no problem with the rappers. They were telling their stories. I ain't had no. Only thing I didn't like sometimes is their vocabulary.
Mm.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
I didn't have like Peter Green Washington. Your daddy might can tell you about Peter Green Washington. He was out of Washington D.C. He was probably one of the first black disc jockeys that told it like it was, but he came out of the penitentiary.
Wow.
And he had his own show called Peter Green Washington. And he talked about topics that's mainly concerned black folk on the streets, in on the job, and in the families and everything, you know.
And at a time that was like unheard of.
Oh no, 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 not the Peter Green man. He said, I'm gonna tell it to the rich, I'm gonna tell it to the poor. That was his theme.
Mm.
And he told his story. He had a couple of bumps because people didn't understand him, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't some of the stuff I gotta tell you, I can't tell you on the radio.
Yeah.
And he tell the rich, I'm gonna tell it to the poor, I'm gonna tell them to the pimp, I'm gonna tell it to the hoe. Now, that's for the average person, but Peter Green told the truth,
True. Yeah. For what it
you
was.
know. Yeah, and just like I said with the rappers, I, when I was growing up, the guys, some of my favorite musicians didn't make no money at all. Some of them died in poverty, but they had hit songs. When the rappers came through and took control of that damn organization, took control of the distribution, took control of everything,
Mm-hmm.
man, what you talking about? Them youngsters was, come on. So I don't have no, I love them, but but you got to understand what were they trying to do. Now way back in the '60s when they had the Black Panthers
Mm-hmm.
and some other organizations, their tactics were a little different, you know, than the rappers, and they got a bad name for it,
Mm.
but
It's kind of like they made that sacrifice for the rappers to be
yeah,
able to get on the track and say what
yeah.
they
But
say.
see now the guys today, the rappers today, they got their own studios and everything, man.
Right.
Tell them, shit, they can put out their own music. Now, if we can move out of that arena and go into other arenas,
Mm.
like the business, uh, like in your field,
Mm-hmm. Mm,
you
like
know what I'm talking about?
media and
See that it's a it's a unseen for you can't see the walls till you really get in there.
yeah.
See, then when you really get in there, you can start seeing that what you got to do. Same thing I was telling my grandson. He's a accounting major, but he don't like figures. So
Mm.
I said, you got to find something else. So he in physical education now, but he can fall back on accounting.
Like always, yep.
You know what I mean? They can't take that knowledge from you. They might can take opportunities from you, but they can't take that knowledge. So when I see guys like y'all, man, I should stick my chest out, man. I'm trying to help you out and do the best you can. Before I tell you something wrong, I ain't gonna tell you nothing at all.
Mm.
Because I had some good mentors, man. I had number writers and bootleggers and everything, but they were looking out for me. That the Lord looked, but they run me off the street, man. And I had some of my friends that was in the drugs and everything,
Mm.
but every time they get to me, they say, "Man, get the hell off the street."
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
What they were telling me, they want more for me than they wanted for themselves.
And they saw something in you as well.
Right, right.
Wow,
So I don't have no regret, man. Shit.
wow, man, that's powerful, Mr. Johnson,
Right,
for real.
right.
So, to my next question, I want to ask, how did you transition from playing sports into becoming a pioneer for youth development, and mentorship?
Okay, well, what it was being true to yourself. Sports open the doors to keep them open. After you get a certain number on you,
Hmm.
you're not gonna be able to play basketball, football, baseball, track, nothing.
Right.
I don't care if you think you're Superman, but you're not. So the things I learned from sports carried me into being a director of the Boys and Girls Club
Okay.
and other organizations. Things like organization, being on time, treating people right.
Hmm.
You know, knowing that some days you're gonna be rougher than others. I learned all that from sports and transfer. But I did learn this, that my power, and I'm not being egotistical,
Hmm.
lies in the way that I interact with the community. When I went to a house and the mama, most of the time, and I ain't, and the daddies could be somewhere else. That's why I don't down daddies. A lot of times the kid don't have a daddy, and everybody think that the daddy left. The daddy could be dead.
Right.
You understand? So you can't automatically think because the kid don't have a daddy, his daddy left him. You know what I mean? So
Right.
so so we were trying to fill that void. We know that certain things a man can do with a boy is different than what a woman can do with a boy.
Right.
We understand that. We understand and vice versa. You know. So I took on that role, but I was trying to use this thing about um, nobody perfect.
Mm.
Don't care what you say. There's some good in the worst of us, and there's some bad in the best of us. You know?
Wow.
And don't go around the corner. Who's us to talk about the rest of us? I tell that to my coaches sometimes. You know,
Yeah.
but you know, but if you if you're a religious man or woman, and I don't like to get into religion because I'm not. I know that I believe in the Lord. In other words, I ain't gonna try to convince you
Right.
or nobody else. I know what I did. You know, what I'm saying is, if you look at what made him my Lord popular is because he reached down and pulled them people out of that modeling clay. So when I had the kind of power that I had to go before the judge and the administrator and tell them about giving this kid another chance.
Right.
See, I had one instance where the judge had already was on the way to send the boy to the joint,
Mm.
and I talked to that judge, and he changed his mind.
Wow.
Commonwealth attorney at that time said he had never seen that happen in his whole life. I said, man, come on. He said, I ain't building your head up now. He said, but you talk to Jacoby, Judge Jacoby, out of sending that boy up to give him another shot. That that's that God given gift that you don't want to put in the leg on box and don't use it.
Right.
You
Right.
know. So that's what So but then I did miss the day by day interacting with the youngsters. But I know what I did up the top to get the resources and put the name out there was a good deal.
Wow. Man, that's so that's so powerful, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah.
So now, I want to go into, you've given knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, to some of the most iconic names in sports, and
Mm,
just to name a few, Mike Tomlin, Michael Vick, Allen Iverson, Aaron
mm.
Brooks, and more. So when you reflect on that legacy, can you describe the feeling of being such a large factor in generations of high level success?
Well, I look at the guys. I've seen some youngsters that came up through the club. If given the opportunity, they could have been a Michael Vick or Iverson or Tomlin.
Mm.
You know.
Right.
So what I got to do is to balance that thing out. You know. And so one thing I think worked for me is I didn't even though they were making good money, and I didn't ever ask for nothing.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They don't, I don't never ask them for nothing. I might, man, give me that shirt. They'll take it off, whatever. And that's the thing. Uh, and I try to treat them all the same. And you got to be careful, because everybody got an ego,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody have feelings. So what I try to do is treat them all the same. Now, I'm not your running partner. I'm not your partying partner. I'm your mentor. I can't drink wine with you or smoke with
Right.
you. The next day, I'm your supervisor, whatever.